Hello and welcome to the What the 40k podcast. I'm Jay.
And I'm Si, and I don't know much at all about Warhammer 40,000. I got into this because of you, Jay.
Yes. I bought you Space Marine 2 because it's class.
You did.
Me and Si normally, we live apart, having been close friends for years, so we use games as our little gateway to keep in touch.
Indeed.
Space Marine 2 was brilliant, so I thought I'd share it with you. And you thought, that looks pretty cool.
It did look pretty cool. There's a lot of violence and blood. And I'm a bloke who doesn't like violence and blood.
Yes, the last safe sanctuary of masculinity and all that.
It is.
So, as a result of kind of how you reacted to the 40k universe, we thought, probably wrongly, we'll document your journey into the 40k universe in the form of a podcast.
Yes, which is what you're currently listening to, right in your ears, in your ear holes. Yeah.
So this podcast, today we're going to kind of do an overview of the 40k universe, but in the future we intend to dive a little deeper into the different factions and what kind of makes the world tick, some of the nuances and some of the weird and wonderful things that go on. So we should really be able to provide people with a really good insight if you're new to 40k, but also hopefully a bit of entertainment if you're familiar with this world and you just want to listen to two idiots chat rubbish.
Yeah. So obviously episode 1, we have to do an overview of the 40k universe. Now it will have to be a brief overview because from the little I know, and we'll go into that later, it's rather complex and in depth.
Yeah, it's massive, ridiculously massive. But equally, as the saying goes, we don't want to steal our own sandwiches. So we need to touch on enough that you kind of get it, but not so much that we're ruining kind of future intended episodes, if that makes sense.
Exactly. So this will be a skim off the top, shall we say?
Yeah.
You put your milk and you've heated it up, got a little skin on top. We're taking that off. Well, there's the whole milk to drink yet, and that'll be in future episodes.
That's a very weird metaphor, but yeah, okay.
I made it up. I can also make fire. I'm a man. Right. Yeah. So, what do I know? Should we talk about what I know?
Yeah, go for it.
Nothing.
Brilliant.
It's set 40,000 years in the future.
Yes.
Nailed it. So there's also that's the end, and look forward to next step. Now, so there's mankind.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's mankind, and mankind had an emperor, as he is called, who was a godlike figure.
Yeah.
And he had a plan, and he wanted to basically colonize the entirety of the universe and for all of humanity.
You could argue recolonize, but we'll cover that later.
Yeah. So on his journey, he created. He had sons. He didn't have a TV, so he had sons, and then he created these sons and armies and expanded out from Earth, or Terra as it's called, and they came across other alien races, or Xenos as they're called.
Yeah.
Nailing it so far. Right. They don't like each other.
No.
Okay, they want to destroy everything. Yeah. They want to destroy everything, they want to colonize. Okay, you get that. But on the flip side of that, there's also sort of an alternate universe type thing happening, and that's called the Warp. And inside the Warp, there is there's 4 gods of chaos.
Yeah.
They are not cool guys.
Well, it depends on your version of cool, but...
Well, if you were a human, they're not cool guys. So, there's 4 gods. They each have their own sort of speciality, shall we say, something they're into. And their job, they want to come over to this reality, and to do that, they basically infect and disfigure and snuggle into people's heads and make them do evil, weird things.
Yeah.
How am I doing so far?
I mean, yeah. For someone who knows nothing, you've picked it up from the game. That's good.
On that topic, it already sounds messed up as it is. the Xenos, or the aliens that they come across, there are multiple. So I'll try and think. So it's very fantasy setting-ish as well. So if you think of fantasy stuff, you think of elves.
Yeah. So basically, it's, if you can think of every sci-fi or fantasy trope since the 80s and longer, so even going back to Tolkien and Lord of the Rings and stuff, anything that you can think of probably exists in the world of Warhammer, or the universe of Warhammer 40,000. So there are there'll be tweaks to it. It will be, a hark back to or inspired by. But for example, you mentioned elves, space elves. Yeah, they're a thing.
Yeah. So dwarves.
Yeah, space dwarves, got them.
Yeah. Wizards.
Yeah, space wizards, loads of them.
Orcs.
Space orcs. Yeah. In fact, in my opinion, a better version of orcs in the 40k setting than in Tolkien setting. But we'll find out about those. They're great guys.
Yeah, great. They're great guys.
Great guys.
We've got demons.
Yeah, you covered those.
Demons. Yeah.
Angels.
Angels?
Yeah, angels.
Proper angels?
Well, us Blood Angels players, I think they'd say it's a proper angel.
Yeah, fair play. Oh, you've got like aliens?
Yeah, like alien, as in
alien, as in the black thing that with the mouth in the mouth.
Yeah, they're not black, but yeah, we've got those.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's literally, it's almost everything.
They got like Terminator type things.
Yeah, Terminator robots.
Yeah,
got those. It sounds ridiculous because it is. Mm-hmm. Everything is ridiculous when it is one of the most elaborate, ridiculous, and genuinely brilliant fictional universes ever made.
It's everything in one, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
But
there's something for everyone.
The lore is only a kind of tiny slice of this, what we broadly call a hobby. It's the same way that it seems a bit weird to me. It's like calling being a meth addict a hobby. It's a reason why it's really, really addictive for the people that fall down this rabbit hole. But it started as a tabletop miniature war game made by Games Workshop, a British company up in Nottingham back in 1987. And the whole premise was that you buy small soldiers. They were lead when they first came out, and then they evolved through different mediums, resin and plastic and stuff. You build them with super glue and stuff, and then you paint them, and then you play a game on a table with some dice.
Yeah,
and that is the kind of physical hobby side. And then
that's another. Sorry to interject. That is another reason why I didn't think about getting into the universe, to be honest. Because the tabletop side doesn't really interest me so much, and the fact that you need some kind of degree to play it, and 40,000 dice, it's not a coincidence. You need 40,000 dice. I looked at it and just thought, I'm not feeling that side of it.
It's a lot. But fortunately, over the 40, nearly 40 years that they've been doing this, this huge fictional universe has grown out of what started as a tabletop hobby. So as a result, there's so many books, so many novels. There's a whole sub company from Games Workshop called Black Library, and their sole function is to push out novels. And there are runs of books that are 50, 60 books long in the series. It's insane. There's video games. They've been dabbling in video games for years and years and years now. Obviously Space Marine 2 has smashed it, but there was a Space Marine 1. They had to go and a MMO years back that didn't really take off because it was still a bit niche, and there were still loads of people running around thinking that this is the nerdiest of nerds. YouTube has been massive. There's loads of fan-made animated stuff on YouTube. Games Workshop realized that these things were doing really, really well, and then subsequently launched their own version of like Disney Plus called Warhammer Plus, where they now post loads of animated stuff. There's comics. You might have heard in the news about Henry Cavill wanting to, or is working with Amazon to bring a kind of real life feature film for 40k. So
King Nerd himself.
Yeah, King of the Nerds. It has branched out into nearly every kind of media, which is
So
incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's not just about the tabletop game anymore. Whatever you're into, because I'm not into the tabletop, whatever you're into, I think you can enjoy the universe that Warhammer is dishing out there for us. And you can scoff it up, whatever you're into.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's flown under the radar for a really long time. And I think that's because of that, the same way that you expressed it, that threshold of, it's just weird dudes in a shop with little toy soldiers.
Yeah.
That, I think, is now slowly starting to strip away. I don't necessarily think the tabletop is still the biggest element of Warhammer 40,000, but not the huge gulf that it was previously. There are now people who know about the universe, but they've never picked up a physical miniature or never stepped inside a Warhammer shop on the high street and been accosted by the guy working there trying to get them to play a game. They've just solely existed as fans of the literature or the animations or whatever that might be. But there is enough meat on the bone of the lore to keep people involved in that. It's amazing. It really is. Well,
with that many years under their belt now, 40 years or so, there's so much lore that they've created in that time for now when it comes to hopefully catching more people's attention, for lack of better wording. Then there's so much they can fall back on. They're not going to run out of stuff, is what I'm saying. It's not like a new franchise where they're trying to build on things as it's actually, as a series comes out and they're thinking, well, that series did well. What about series 2? Not even thought of it. And then it goes wrong, doesn't it? A lot of the time it goes wrong.
Yeah, it's a well-trodden path for Games Workshop and the 40,000 Warhammer 40,000 universe. They do retcon, they do change things, and things evolve. Some more popular than others, but on the whole, the kind of general idea is set in stone. So it's really, really easy for them to roll off lore content and people to really dive into it, because it's the work that they've done over the years to fill out the level of detail that they have is incredible.
Yeah. So go on, sorry.
You gave a kind of your overview. Can I give a kind of fairly succinct what it actually is? No ifs, buts, maybes.
Yeah, well, you're the guy in this duo that actually knows stuff.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do it like an elevator pitch. So the year is 40,000. Humanity is spread across the galaxy. They've built a massive empire called the Imperium of Man that you touched on. It spans 1 million worlds. It's trillions of human beings. It sounds incredible. It sounds like we've won. It sounds like the game of galactic chess that the Emperor was playing. We've won it, but in practice, it's absolutely horrific. The tagline for Games Workshop that they put all over everything is, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. You would have seen it on the opening Space Marine 2. You would see it on everything because that's what they use. But that's it. That is the vibe of the entire setting. It is built on the premise that everything is perpetually on the brink of total collapse and has been for tens of thousands of years. And it's just kept going by pure fanaticism, fear, and crazy amounts of sacrifice by people who are way more committed to causes than I've ever been.
Yeah, this universe is not a nice place to live in. You told me this a while back. It's that a lot of people, if they like things, for example, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, anything big like that, and they have a universe, most people that are fans of it wish they were in it. People wish they lived in the Shire, for example, with a little circle door and stuff, or someone, they wish they lived inside the wizard's castle, Hogwarts or whatever. That doesn't happen with people that are fans of 40k, because if they were living in their universe, they would be dead probably within about 15 minutes.
Yes, that is the recorded lifespan of an Imperial Guardsman on a battlefield is 15 minutes.
Not bad.
And that's not like, let's have a guess. Like when they are working out their strategic plans, what's written in the manual is that a guardsman will last 15 minutes. It's like a working currency of the Imperial Guard. It's not just a guess. It's not just to be dramatic. That's like their working. It's the same as miles per gallon in a car. 15 minutes per guardsman per battle.
Brilliant. So it's not a place where you want to live in, but that only makes it more interesting.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think
opinion,
that is the twist. This is not Star Trek. You know, Star Trek. People like Star Trek. I get it, but the general world of Star Trek is one where people are trying to do good. There is no good in Warhammer 40,000. There are just varying shades of kind of moral grey at best. You know, even the most friendly of the Space Marines. They are I won't say who they are. The most friendly of the Space Marines, the most friendly regarded chapter of the Space Marines. What do you think their weapon of choice is? Bear in mind, they are friendly.
Well, I know this. It is, as being as friendly as they are, they use puppy launchers, isn't it? They fire pugs out of... Yes, that's correct, isn't it? Yeah. But instead of pugs, it's fire.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So the friendliest faction wield flamethrowers. Which, like, when your weapon burns people alive, how friendly are you really? So, you know,
inaccurate too, right? I mean, you're covering a large. I mean, if you're trying to go for an aimed shot, not happening.
Yeah, it's not a happy place. Nobody wakes up thinking, oh, I really wish that I was a member of the Imperium living on some random planet. It's just surrounded by death and misery.
Good constantly. Times. So we discussed the Xenos now, and we have touched on, obviously, human side, and the Space Marines that you've just talked about are the biggest. They're the poster boys for pretty much the entirety of the Warhammer universe, aren't they? They are the big armoured lads that that stuff happens to them. They weren't always that way. So that's possibly for the future, but... Yeah, they are the poster boys. They are the ones that go in.
The easiest way to, without giving them too much away, because we will cover it in detail, because it's makes for, I don't say great table conversation, because it's not, but it's interesting. But they are the genetically modified super soldiers and the poster boys of 40k. But what's weird is you kind of get the impression that they're everywhere, and they're really not. You know, they're quite rare. You know, if you are Joe Bloggs in the Imperium, the likelihood of you seeing a Space Marine is really, really low. So they're not as numerically present as people might be led to believe, especially in comparison to things like the Imperial Guard or the Astra Militarum.
Yeah.
Used to be called the Imperial Guard, now called the Astra Militarum, where their regiments are, you know, you've got single regiments that are 1 million strong. It's the scale of your normal human in comparison to the genetically modified super soldier. The ratio is insane.
Yeah, but the Space Marines don't die every 15 minutes.
No,
that's a caveat there.
That's a trade-off.
Yeah, but you don't see them that often, because if they are fighting over hundreds of different war zones over a space of millions of different planets, the Space Marines chapters, as they're called, they're only like 1,000 strong anyway, so the likelihood is low that you'll see one. And for the most part, it's actually the regular human army, the Astra Militarum, that are the ones that are constantly dying all the time, because it's always war.
Yeah.
Planets are getting destroyed, people are dying in the millions every single day, and that's just 10,000 years worth of that.
Yeah, it's very much hammer and anvil existence. And the Astra Militarum are the biggest anvil you've ever seen.
God.
And the Space Marines are a tiny little jeweler's hammer, but it works.
Yeah, it does work. It does work.
Yeah. So the other thing as well that you touched on, because it's really, really important to everything else that we're going to talk about later, is the warp. So the warp, as you said, is kind of runs parallel. It gets called all sorts. It's called the Immaterium or the Aether, or there's loads and loads of stuff. But basically, it's made of psychic energy, raw emotion given physical form. And because it's made of emotion, particularly harnessing darkest emotions, it's kind of like a boiling hellscape in there now, because there is so much suffering and despair throughout the universe. The perpetual state of war is actually making everything that's behind the curtain stronger.
Nice. That
The
works
issue
out
is,
well.
the issue is, as you alluded to, is everything that's on that side doesn't want to be on that side. It wants to be on the
Our
other
side.
side. Yeah. So
Yeah.
everything that is in there is trying to get out of there.
Yeah, so it's like a hole to hell that things are trying to get out of.
Yeah. So if you imagine how we've got, depending on your beliefs, we've got a heaven, an earth, and a hell.
Yeah.
In the world of 40k, it's the same, but there is no heaven. So it's just this and hell.
Nice.
That's your choices.
It's like purgatory and hell. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah. There's no good place.
No. Excellent. So, as we said about the warp.
Yeah.
Right. Which is on the other sort of dimension, a different plane, as it were. But that is also how we travel in this universe through space. We use the warp as a shortcut.
Yeah, not a great design. So time is kind of just like a loose idea in the warp. Time doesn't really work in the warp. The warp just does what it wants all the time. So your depictions of, I mentioned Star Trek earlier. Star Trek's faster than light travel looks glorious. Star Wars, it looks glorious. It looks like you're driving at night in the snow, all the stars whizzing by you, everything's wonderful. Everybody really enjoys that experience. In Warhammer 40k, in order to do faster than light travel, we rip a hole in reality, travel through the warp, and pop out the other side. During that journey, the psychers on board those ships are literally being assaulted by demons the entire time in a mental capacity. So and if there's something called the Gellerfield, we'll cover it when we talk about the warp in detail. There's something called a Gellerfield protecting you. If that Gellerfield drops, then the thing that's stopping the demons from kind of materializing on the ship is removed, and everybody dies.
Oh. Yeah, so there's no Picard saying engage. It's
death.
A couple of the psychers trying to stop these things from coming into the ship, into our reality, and killing everything on board the ship.
Yeah.
You'd like to think there's a better way, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd think with the future technology, they'd have figured out something else, but they haven't. So yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit terrifying. The idea of warp travel is like, if I was in this universe, I would never leave my planet. I would just stay in my little house, wherever it might be, on my little room in a city, and I would never ever leave, because the journey of traveling faster than light or great distances across the galaxy is just horrendous. It's like sleep paralysis. You're just a perpetual state of sleep paralysis. Everywhere you look, it's just horror and nightmarish death.
Absolutely horrendous. I briefly mentioned, or we did, that there obviously are other aliens or Xenos, and it isn't just humans versus the warp, it's humans versus the warp and everything else in the normal universe.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
But what's great, and this is again where I think 40k stands itself apart to a lot of other kind of sci-fi and fantasy universes, is normally it is pitched as exactly like you said. It is humans good guys versus everything else, which is bad guys. That's
the general thing in anything, isn't it? Ever.
Yeah, that's not how it works in 40k. So it's humans fighting everything, but everything is also fighting everything. So your Xenos species aren't mates. They're not like, oh, let's all gang up on the humans. That's not how it works. The Xenos hate each other, and they hate humans, and the humans
hates everyone.
Yeah, there is no good guys. The closest, the Tau, who we will talk about in detail in another episode, but just to give you a read-in, the Tau are what is supposedly classed as the good guys, because their kind of creed is the greater good, a la Hot Fuzz, the greater good. So that's their whole mantra is it's all for the greater good, but they're screaming that in your face while they're conducting genocide on your planet. So how good is the greater good? Those guys are cool though. We talked about the crossovers from pop culture and different tropes.
Terminators, aliens.
The Tower, like Gundam, big mech suits. So they're kind of cool, but everybody hates them because everybody hates them.
They're new ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they are the youngest race in the
Tau.
Which is why everybody hates them, because it's like the youngest sibling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
the
ginger.
The little brother that you just kick around the house and that.
Yeah, thinks they know everything. Thinks that they can make everything better and change everything, and in reality, they can't.
No one likes a goody two shoes either, do they? Let's be honest.
No. So that's them. We talked about the Eldar. The Eldar. We didn't talk about the Eldar. We talked about the space elves. They are Eldar, or Eldari as they're now called. They're kind of a personality split amongst the Eldar, because you have Eldar and you have Dark Eldar.
So the Dark Eldar, I'm already going to guess here, they're not nice.
No. I mean, nobody's nice, but the Dark Eldar are especially not nice. Like, if I had to write a list of Xenos factions that I wouldn't want to get captured by, they are top of that list, and that's above the alien xenomorph replica that just eats people. Dark Eldar are above the people that eat people.
Nice. Now again, we are touching the tops, aren't we? Because we will go into, in future episodes, we will be going into different factions and different races and stuff, and diving deeper without armbands on and having a look into them. So we are just skimming.
Absolutely.
So you have got good/bad, still bad Eldar or Eldari, and you've got dark, bad Eldari.
Yeah, you've seen a theme.
Yeah. So space elves, goodish, but not, and badish, but definitely bad.
Yes. You're good. Orks, they're fun.
Yes, Orks.
So when you tell me about your knowledge of, because you didn't play Space Marine 1, so give me your view of what an Ork is with your kind of Tolkien knowledge.
From what I know, and I have delved a little bit, but then we decided to do this podcast, so then I've stopped delving and looking at anything really. But what I did notice is that they have a Cockney accent. Yeah. Which is hilarious. They believe in stuff, and then that stuff that they believe in happens. That are big, stupid, quite dumb, from what I can see, creatures. They believe in things, and those things happen. For example, if their gun shouldn't work, and it's completely broken, if they believe that gun should fire, it fires.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, they run off idiocy and belief. That's what I'm going to put it down to.
Yeah, good. That's basically all. The only line you're missing from that is that they just fight everything all the time, including themselves. So if there is no enemy to fight, they will just fight themselves. Like, if Orks could figure that out and not fight themselves, they'd be the dominant force in the galaxy. Mainly because they're made from mushrooms, so they are angry mushrooms. But they gain strength from fighting. So the more an Ork fights, the stronger they get, and they always look for what they call the biggest and best fights. So the harder you are as an enemy, the more they will enjoy fighting you.
Oh, good. So they're a bit weird. the more they fight, the stronger they get.
Yeah.
Okay. Physically?
Yeah. Like, they literally grow bigger the more they fight. So in Ork society, the harder you are, or the harder you are, the bigger you are. So you'll see any depictions of their leadership, war bosses, are normally bigger than all the other ones, And that's
Absolutely
not just
ginormous.
because it's they're trying to, it's not heroic scale. They're not trying to make them look more important. It's just because if you're the
They're good
leader,
fighters.
you're the artist. You're the artist, lad.
You're the
So they
artist,
are
mate.
just. And you touched on the Cockney accent. It's a bit of a weird trope. But if you think back to
Funny though.
like the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s Millwall kind of football hooligan,
Yeah.
that's Orcs, but they're green.
But do they get smarter?
Define smart.
Well, I assume a new orc who's obviously, like you said, they're sort of fungi. They grow from the ground, as it were. He is going to be quite skinny, quite small, and very thick. Do they gain knowledge? The more they fight?
No, not really.
So they remain quite thick.
Yeah, they kind of have like this. I don't want to go into too much detail, but they kind of have like a latent psychic energy. So they're born already being the thing that they're going to be. So if they are, I'll give away a little bit. So if you are a mech boy is their engineers. They are born already being a mech boy before they know that they're a mech boy. So they don't have like, oh, I'm quite interested in this, I'm going to learn that. That's not how orcs work. They are born.
They already know.
They already subconsciously know the thing, and they will have an affinity for building stuff out of stuff, and they'll end up being a mech boy. So they don't really learn. We talked about gods. They have their own gods, but we'll cover them in detail. So they don't play by everybody else's rules, which is fun.
So they're thick, funny, and like fighting.
Yeah, they are the comedic relief of the 40k universe. Absolutely.
Excellent. Right. Then there's the aliens, like from the film Aliens. Great. You see where I'm going with that.
So Tyranids.
Tyranids. Yeah.
You've seen loads of them from the game.
Yeah. They are. They are fast, weird, look cool. To be fair, they do look quite cool. Yeah. But they are like numbers wise, they're everywhere.
It's insane. Yeah. They are. Everything. It's all called a swarm, obviously, because
they are literally a swarm.
It's a literal swarm. Yeah, bioengineered mad stuff that they don't have individual free will. So it's a hive mind kind of mentality, the hive mind consciousness. So one leader bug will give the ideas for the little bugs. You would have seen that depicted in the game. But all they do, they're technically, when you talk about good and evil, they are. Have you ever seen the chaotic good, chaotic neutral, that thing that bounces around for different things? You may not have seen it. No. But these guys are neutral evil. So they're not doing what they do because they dislike anybody. They're not doing what they do because of a political agenda. They're just doing it because that's what they do. It is a natural function for them to consume what is known as biomass. Unfortunately, that's us and plants and everything else. So they literally strip planets clean, every resource, every scrap of biomass, and then they use that to grow more Tyranids.
So they go to a place, they eat everything in sight, whether that be something living, something probably dead, and fauna, flora, everything. They'll strip the planet clean, make more somehow.
Yeah.
And then go to the next place.
Yeah. So they don't hate you. You're just food. That's it.
Nice. Just lunchtime.
Yeah. That's it.
Lovely. That is. They're horrible, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Like if you're writing a scripted bad guy, they tick a lot of boxes. Because they just don't have any morals. You cannot negotiate with the hive mind. There's no conversation.
There's no sitting down, is there? Saying, "I'll tell you what, you have that part, right, and then we'll just have this town here. You can have the rest if you." Oh, you're just eating my ankle. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, there's a whole other kind of sub faction from them, which again we'll talk about, but just to kind of allude to, which is the infiltration element of the Tyranids,
Yes.
where they send kind of sleeper guys ahead to kind of prepare the planet for the arrival of the main fleet. But that's kind of a weird faction.
Yeah, and we'll go into that when we look deeper at Tyranids.
Yeah,
because they are interesting. Now we talked about Terminators, didn't we?
Terminators, yeah. So Necrons. So you
Yes.
probably won't have noticed, but I think I on your campaign playthrough on Space Marine 2, I think I pointed it out. But on there's some hints on Space Marine 2 on some of the levels of Necron stuff. But Necrons are Terminators, but instead of like red eyes, it's green. They are super old, super old, older than the Eldar, older than humanity. They're really, really old. And for a long time, we collectively, Xenos and humanity, didn't even know they were really there. We thought they were all dead and gone. The problem is we've collectively made loads of noise, and now they're all starting to wake up. So think kind of like Egyptian Terminators. They're tombs and pharaohs and pyramids and all that sort of stuff, but they're immortal, made of metal, kind of soulless, horrendous things. Yeah.
And now, because of all the wars, etc., and us obviously trying to dominate planets, we are waking them up.
Yeah, and they're not really happy about that because, kind of when they went to sleep, they were the big boy, they had everything.
And now they've woken up with nothing.
Yeah, well, no, they've still got stuff, but stuff has been built on top of their stuff. So you imagine say you built something really, really cool that you loved, and you thought, I'm just going to have a little sleep. And then you woke up, and when you woke up and looked around, some douchebag toddler, because in the eyes of the Necrons, we are all toddlers, had built their playhouse on top of your beautiful building. How happy would you be?
Well, no, it's like if I went to sleep tonight in my house thinking all is well, and then I woke up and walked out my front door into the lobby of the newly erected flats that have been placed around my house and above.
Yes.
then, I'd be a bit pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be a bit pissed. I will. They have guns, don't they? That, as far as I'm aware, it melts your insides.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, they have Gorse weaponry. It's called. It's just horrendous. It just eats metal, so it's almost like a living laser beam, and it just consumes whatever it touches. They're not very nice. They're not nice guys. I mean, I'm sure we will do an episode on 40k weaponry at some point because everything is insane. But yeah, they've got their little sticks and little nuances that make them kind of cool. The only thing is they're robots, so they don't have bags of personality. There's a few really cool guys in there that we'll cover when we talk about them. But on the whole, especially in more recent depictions, they are quite
Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator.
Yeah, it is a little bit
really
like
going on much. Yeah.
Like it is a little bit like watching Arnie act. It's a little bit flat, a little bit, but they're still cool. They are still cool. What else haven't we talked about? Ooh, Chaos Space Marines.
Yes, I was going to say, because we've talked about Space Marines and we talked about the warp, but we haven't talked about them getting it on under the duvet. Yeah,
we can't go. I don't want to go crazy into this because it's again stealing our own sandwiches. But you've seen
we got a skim.
You've seen enough from Space Marine 2 to know that they exist.
Yeah.
So these are Space Marines who fall into chaos, basically. There are, in the same way there are chapters in normal Space Marines, there are chapters in Chaos Space Marines, but they are aligned to gods.
They've kept the basis of how good bad Space Marines are. The bad Space Marines. It's hard, isn't it? Because there's no good. The bad Space Marines have sort of kept the same sort of way how they run on the good side. That's not good.
Difficult sort of. They've
got their own chapters and factions and stuff.
Yeah, but there's some of them have taken on some of the, let's just call them the ideas of their new chaos overlords, and they've taken them to heart. So some of them have gone a little bit rogue. But yeah, we'll cover them in way more depth when we talk about the real history and the kind of the beating heart of the 40k story, called the Horus Heresy. But don't look it up because that's cheating.
I know.
It's been really hard for you to not look at stuff, I know, but
it's been hard, yeah, because you got me into it, and then we thought about making this podcast, and then now I can't look at much. So I want to know this stuff, which is it's exactly why we're doing this, I suppose.
No,
and then other people can listen in and hopefully learn something as well.
Yeah. The Space Dwarves as well, Votan. I myself, these guys, so they're new in terms of like being released, but in age they're older than Tau, which is why I said Tau are the kind of young babies. But I actually don't know a great deal about those, so that'll be a journey for both of us. But they're kind of like power armored dwarves.
Oh, okay.
That's what I know. But we can
look at this. Sound good though. I've
That'll
literally never seen anything. Yeah, never seen anything on them at all.
Yeah, they haven't really been like. If you were to look on YouTube for 40k animations and stuff, they haven't been touched yet. They're still relatively new. I think they were only kind of released as a faction in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, so they're quite new.
Yeah, I've not seen absolutely anything on them, which is kind of crazy, but there is that much, like we said.
Yeah, it's so big. Honestly, we could do 400 episodes of this easily, talking about stuff, and we would still only be scratching the surface. It's such a large IP and universe, but they've done such a good job of filling in the detail where a lot of people don't. Star Trek fills in the details of the main players, but there's loads of like stuff which is just left empty.
Yeah.
There's very, very little left empty in 40k. They have dug down into the detail on nearly everything. So,
which is cool. Why it's going to be good when we start doing deep dives, because the things we'll probably uncover will be quite entertaining at best. I would think. Yeah.
Yeah. When you start looking into like, what jobs do people do in a hive city, and you're like, what is this? Why is that a thing?
Yeah. You're doing that just for a few dollars or whatever. But there we go. Yeah. So let me try and we've touched briefly. So let me try and summarize what we've learned today. What have I learned today in episode 1 of the overview? It is obviously the year 40,000. Humanity rules millions of worlds, but it is constantly on the verge of collapsing. There are alien factions everywhere. There's Orks who run on belief and idiocy. There's Tyranids that are trying to eat their way through the galaxy. There's space elves that are slowly declining. And there's dark elves and not so dark elves. There's robot pharaohs waking up from a God knows how many millions years nap. And there's a demon dimension made of emotions that has 4 gods in it. The Imperium's own super soldiers partly have turned, the Chaos ones, 10,000 years ago, and they're still trying to fight everything. And somehow all this has been going on continuously for 10,000, thousands of years. And but humanity is still here, barely, holding on.
Yeah, and there's stuff that we even now there's factions we haven't talked about. There's extra layers and nuances and sub factions, and it's crazy. Honestly, it goes so deep. But yeah, it is. It's just a huge perpetual hate war setting.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
No, it is.
I'm gonna have. I mean, it is great, but it's not great for them. If you were them, I'm gonna have to start forgetting things now, like my children's names and stuff, to save room in the old skull for the knowledge that we're gonna have to take in.
Yes, yeah, that is definitely gonna have to happen.
Either that or my brain will have to expand significantly.
No chance of that. Forget stuff, it's easier.
There's loads of space in there, though, Jay.
Oh, true, yeah.
My brain is tiny. There's loads of space. But yes, so that's a good overview, I think. and a good skim. Yes, we have babbled and we have rambled on, and we apologise for that, but that's the overview done. So the next episode will be a little bit more in depth, and we'll be going into certain factions, people, characters. I believe the first one we're going to start with is the Emperor.
Yeah, do the Emperor and Mankind first, because that's the kind of fundamental laydown of everything else. It'd be silly to do anything else.
Really, isn't it? Yeah. So the next episode 2, will be all about the Emperor, and it will be a deep dive into everything that we know.
Yeah.
Well, everything that you know. I know nothing.
Where he came from, what he did, how he got to where how he got to the status of being the Emperor, and then what happened next. So it'll be good.
Will be good.
Or, well, it might not be. It might be rubbish, but we'll try.
It might be rubbish. Yeah, we'll give it our best shot, is what we're going to say. So if you have enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe, leave us a comment or a review, and send it to someone who never in a million years would listen to a podcast about Warhammer, because this is going to be a good start for them. Yeah, agreed. This is the gateway drug for Warhammer 40k. So if you've got a friend who you think, I think he's susceptible, he could fall to chaos, send it to him or her. Yeah. Because that's one thing that's happened. There's lots of chicks getting into it now, which is great. But yeah, send it to people. It's funny to watch people fall down a giant wormhole of information, and the memes are strong. Right, and that concludes episode 1 of the What the 40k podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.